According to the clock on my computer, it's 8:30. So I'll call this meeting of the Land, Water, and Forest Resources Committee to order, please. May we have roll call?
Ed Peters,
Here.
Mark Helwig,
Here.
Kay Wilson, Brian Bizinet,
Here.
Jason Weaver.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Great. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Certification of compliance with open meetings.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Okay. Public comments. At this time, members of the public will be given opportunity to address the committee. Please adhere to the following. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes or less per individual. Comments should be directed to the committee as a whole and not at an individual committee member. The committee cannot respond to your comments during this time. And please sign in. Do we have any public comments this morning? Okay. Moving on, approval of minutes from the January 10th meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the January 10th meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And carries. Item number 7, Register of Deeds update. We have a monthly report. Any questions? I think we will just accept the report and move on. Events, are there any? I don't see any events listed.
No event applications for this month.
Okay, hopefully we will have an event this month. Land records and county surveyor report. It's like there were quite a bit of work going on with regard to updating assessments coming up this next year. And surveyors looked like they were busy while we still had some frost in the ground in the wet places. Moving on to Sawyer County Forestry Department report. Recreational trails. Oh, Brian. Do you have any additions to the surveyors or the other reports?
Okay, so, at the end of 2020.
Mike?
At the end of 2023, we submitted the WLIP grant. Every year we submit this grant. I'll try to give you a brief setup of the grant. So every year we get grant funding for land records modernization. The tasks that we can fund with this grant are basically getting our land records online, getting survey data completed to be online, and we got This year, a strategic initiative grant of $10,000. That money has historically gone towards surveying efforts. In the past, we've gotten more money though. In the recent past, we got more money. It was always set up to be $10,000. So we're back. We're kind of like back to the $10,000 mark. We're going to use that. That's for Sawyer County's survey staff. We get a $1,000 training and education grant. We applied for that and got that. That will help cover GIS staff to go to WLIA conferences, which is Wisconsin Land Information Association. It'll also help fund the real property lister attend their annual state meetings. And the county survey staff attending the institute. So, and then in addition to that, we have the base budget grant. So this grant is, from the state, but it's funded from our recording fees. Basically, we get a $100,000 grant. Recording fees make up that. If we don't get $100,000 in recording fees, which we don't, they then, make up for the rest. So part of that base budget grant application, we've got $57,936. We're going to use that money to fund a scanning position in the zoning office, scanning, the permit documents that then go online. So that's land records modernization right there. And some money is going to a portion of our GIS technician salary. And then another portion is going to be held for 2025 aerial imagery acquisition. Every 5 years, we get aerial imagery through Wisconsin Regional Orthophoto Consortium. We're doing that again in 2025. So we're holding some money aside for that. These aren't very exciting projects. The scanning project is what we did last year. The funding of, funding our staff through this is what we've done in the past. And we just took some of the extra money, if you will, and set that aside for the aerial photography, which we know is coming. Last year, I took this position after Dan Pluger retired in spring. And, so for the end of the year, I've just kind of taken that whole year and say, let's just kind of keep pushing things forward. Going forward this year, we'll probably have more meetings. The Wisconsin Land Information Program, this grant program is, we have a council. Each county has their own little council. So we've got a council at Sawyer County that is made up of county employees and the public, where we will discuss, the usage of these funds and what we need to do. What does the public want to see from our records and how they use them, and the projects that we want to get done internally. So we'll discuss that a little bit more this year than we have in the past. But this specific application was basically like, hold the status quo on what we've been doing. So.
Any questions?
So it's the WLIP, Wisconsin Land Information Program. Yeah.
I was just wondering, it might be helpful if you would supply Lynn with some of the details.
Yeah, I can
You have
get
there
the
just to-
paperwork.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of numbers there that.
Yeah, I usually don't have numbers to report from my office. We're not doing a whole lot, but this is the grant. So.
You're not doing a whole lot?
Sorry. In making a bunch of money like the forestry office does, they're big sheets of big numbers. We don't have those.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, Sawyer County Forestry Department Recreational Trails Report. Anything to report besides lack of snow?
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot to report, obviously. ATVers are out riding the trails. We're seeing more and more of them as we get deeper into February and the weather was warming up. As of about a week ago, all the clubs removed all the stakes from the lakes, which once that happened, then a lot of the ice fishing tournaments had been canceled just due to safety concerns. So it's affecting a lot of different sports entities. Nothing we can do about it either, but that's about it. We're planning some trail work days to get out there and some more signing done on the trails and do whatever we can do during, this low activity period. Any questions?
How are the trails holding up with, the ground being frozen? And
I've
being warm.
rode probably 4 or 5 times over the last week, and the wooded trails are still frozen. They're still, majority are ice covered, snow covered, and fairly slick. The trail portions that are exposed to pure sun are softening up a little bit, but they're still pretty manageable.
Thank you.
Thank you. County Forestry Report.
Okay. For the month of January, we did have 17 sales listed as active. Our sale value sold and uncut on file is just over 4.3 million. But I'll just address right away with the road bans going on so early. This will be a significant hardship for our contractors. A lot of them do plan on this full winter season of logging. So I've gotten a couple of requests in already for extensions without increase and things like that. And I expect to be getting a lot more as things settle down. So just be aware that we will be discussing something on the coming month or two about some sort of temporary policy with, we'll have to figure out something for these extensions to deal with this unseasonable winter. Because like I said, it's a significant hardship for our contractors to get through this unseasonably winter.
Right. Do they normally get some sort of a cost if they extend?
Our base contract, we have a 2-year base contract, then we give them 2 extensions after that, with a 10% increase on price for the first one and a 15% increase on the second one. We don't have any clauses in there that say anything about weather or anything like that, but we have done things in the past for extenuating circumstances like the COVID years, where we gave them a free year without an increase. So I think it'd be reasonable for us to consider doing some kind of temporary policy to address this. So we're just going to wait and see when we get to our normal, winter end. Typically road bans are always on average the March 15th. So we're just going to see what happens going into February and into March. But we'll likely be having this discussion coming up.
So you're just gonna go ahead and draft that, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit complicated, but trying to determine what's a winter sale versus not. We don't have frozen ground only restrictions on many sales at all. We just kind of leave it up to we can allow them to cut whenever, so we don't put that firm frozen only. So I will have some sort of language drafted up for us to look at here in probably next month.
Okay.
So, and also too, if people question why I budget relatively conservatively for revenue, this is why when we get these types of situations. So we'll see where we go from here. This might lend itself to a very busy summer logging season, but who knows what's gonna happen? I mean, we could dip back into winter for all of March. You know, it's everybody, right? I didn't say that, but yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, so we'll see where we go. So moving on, sale inspections were on target. For January, we did receive just under 240,000 for timber sale revenue for the month. We do have a pretty good chunk build out right now at 330,000. So, I mean, we're doing okay, but this is going to be a hit for us. So, sale inspections are on target. We are getting a lot of field work done right now with the conditions. Foresters are enjoying the virtually no snow in the woods right now. Recon is on target. We are working on Good Neighbor Authority also on for year 25 contract. I just submitted a reimbursement request for our contract from last year. So that should be coming in within the month. Nothing else new to report on my other items. Our Trail 5 rehab project was on track to be completed, but that got shut down also with road bans. So we'll see where we go from there. Additionally, the carbon credit project, the majority of the plots were completed with the exception of one due to difficult access. They are working on our data, processing it, and they will do a verification planning site visit sometime this summer. And I'm currently, they have a pretty big data request for harvesting records from last year. So we're kind of figuring out what they're wanting from us, but it's a pretty big, we have the data. It's just a matter of getting it all out into a usable format for them to analyze. So we're making some progress there.
Greg, you have any idea when we're gonna start seeing some revenue, I guess you'd say?
That I don't know. I don't know if Andy might have a little bit more insight into that. I haven't heard much from any of our counterparts on if any checks have been cut yet, but maybe Andy has heard something.
I have not really heard anything. I know it's delayed. We're actually going to be having a call with Anu in the next week or two to just get an update on timeline and anything that's changed. There have been some changes in the registry and third-party audits of sales that are pending. So that's what slowed things down. I do believe Bayfield County has started to see a little bit of revenue coming from theirs, but not. They still have credits. They're still marketing their credits. They have not sold all or even a majority of their credits, just a few small sales, I believe.
Otherwise, that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Greg, I just noticed on the timber sales that there were two that closed out in January.
Mhm.
Which ones are those? Are those?
I don't have them right in front of me.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. DNR forestry report?
I have no official report for this month other than reiterating what Greg said. We have been out in the field quite practically every day. That it's been such a strange winter with very easy access into some tougher locations and great conditions for field work. So we've been out and about just as the other foresters have. And I would just like to say that it's very strange with this road ban on this early, but it was definitely a good call. As going down some town roads, they were getting pretty beat up. So I think it was a very good decision on that behalf. But hopefully, I want spring as much as everybody, but I think if we can get a good freeze and get some help for these loggers, that'd be good for the remainder of the winter. But that's all I have to report.
Okay. Thank you. Emergency fire warden annual renewal.
informational. It looks like it's the chairperson, the board chair that sends this.
So I believe for this committee, this is just informational and this has to go to the county board chair for a signature and returned.
Okay. So no action needed here. Okay, thank you. I guess one other question on that. Are there other ones that might be anticipated coming up yet, or is this just the same ones every year?
From my knowledge, this is the first time I have seen this document. Maybe Greg, you can expand on that, or Pat, if you could too, but there's nothing else.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I was curious why every town didn't have a fire warden.
Maybe I could, my knowledge is that, back years ago, every township did have a fire warden, as well as additional private, places you go to. But now you can do these online, so the number of, in-person fire wardens has gone down significantly since then.
This is, if this is primarily for burn permits, if that's one of the major,
Correct, yeah. So just as Andy stated that you can now fill out your burn permits online and that's the majority. But there is still places that people can go to acquire a burn permit. So that's mainly what this is for.
thank you. Moving on, item 11, release of reserved rights for flowage easements and gravel pits on a parcel in the town of Winter. And I believe Andy has this information, or at least he was the one that provided most of it.
Yeah, I can try to explain this. This came through a corp counsel through TJ, who was contacted by Secluded Land Company. And what I've learned through TJ, apparently this comes up every so many years, where a parcel of land that Sawyer County sold back in the 40s, around that time at least, was sold with these reservations listed in the fine print, and that's attached as well. Back at that time when the county sold land, I think tax deed lands, they attached a reservation for future flowage, gravel pit, or road right of way needs of the county. And apparently, per TJ, when this comes up, the county, when requested, will release these through a quitclaim deed. Effectively, the language that's included on those deeds in the 40, because partly the length of time, but also how it's worded, is essentially unenforceable. There's really no practical way for us to take back for gravel pits or flowage easements or road right of way. Now there is a county W on that property, so we did not include the road right of way. But this quitclaim deed that we would be approving would release the flowage and gravel pit reservations that are on that deed from 1945. And that just cleans up their title to have that removed.
Andy, releasing it to whom?
To the current property owner. Which would be Secluded Land Company.
Yeah, they have apparently been doing a fair amount of business here in Sawyer County. There was something over in the town of Draper with Secluded Land Company just a couple of months ago, I know.
Yes, Secluded Land Company, what I know is has property holdings throughout at least northern Wisconsin, through a number of counties. I believe they're doing a residential development on this property. And I don't know, this property has changed hands a couple times since 1945 when the counties first sold it. But I think Secluded is just requesting this to clean up their title going ahead, because I think they anticipate subdividing it further.
And what action do we need to take here in this committee?
It would be recommending this quit claim deed for approval, and that would have to go to the county board.
Okay,
Make the motion to approve the quick claim deed.
and forward to the county board. Have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to forward the quit claim deed to the county board, recommending for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes. Zoning and Conservation Department, is that all for that one, Andy?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Yes.
Zoning and Conservation Department.
Yeah, as part of the conservation update, we are still looking for an agricultural representative to sit on the Land, Water, Forest Resource Committee. We have sent out public notices to both newspapers. I believe that should have been published last week. Tim Seidel has made calls to several of our agricultural producers and have not heard anything back from the paper advertisement for someone to sit on this committee. So we'll keep you in the loop, see if we're able to fill that position. Tree sale inventory is almost completely sold out. Other orders can be picked up May 10th and 11th as the anticipated pickup date. We are still updating and continuing other dam inspections, operations and maintenance plans and emergency action plans. We had 3 posters as part of our annual conservation poster contest place at regionals. 2 of those posters placed first place at regionals and will be moving on to the state competition in March. At 10 a.m. today, following this meeting, the zoning committee will hold a special public hearing for the Fish Trap Dam failure analysis. As part of that potential approval of the DFA, we'll have a separate agenda item as well on the Land, Water, Forest Resource Committee, which is as item number B here, to apply for the State of Wisconsin Municipal Dam Grant. Barring no other questions as part of a conservation update, I can move into item B.
Any questions for Jay on item A? Well, let's move on to B.
I just wanted to share one screen here. So as part of the municipal dam grant, again, this is a resolution that would need to be recommended for approval by this committee and then go to the full county board next Thursday. And that would be to apply for the state municipal dam grant. As part of kind of our engineer doing some initial datum and work on the Fish Trap Dam, right now we'd be looking at proposal of a replacement dam, which will actually be cheaper as to the style of dam that you see up on the screen, which is known as a rock riprap dam. So we'd actually be taking out the culverts that are currently as part of the dam structure and replacing it with a rock riprap. This roadway that would be, across the top could still be traversed via golf cart or ATV or UTV, not recommended for full-size vehicles, and then would have a small shallow pitch that would then go further downstream. So there'd be little to no maintenance as part of this replacement. That rock would be placed at a certain level as to keep the ebbs and flows at that current height. As part of the engineering aspects there, it was anticipated that a replacement estimate for that rock riprap type of dam structure would be just south of $600,000. We would be looking at a potential 10%, contingency fund as part of that. So somewhere around, but not to exceed 700,000 as part of a replacement. The repairs to the current dam was actually going to come out to be more. So that is where we're looking at a replacement as part of the repair. The repair aspects was just north of 850,000 with, again, a 10% contingency built into that. So as part of item B for the resolution, again, this is just basically authorizing me to submit for the state municipal dam grant. And that acknowledges that the county has funding to pay their share of that grant. Ultimately, we would have to pay the full share. And then once the dam is complete, we would request up to 50% reimbursement of the cost. Ultimately, the dam is as a high hazard dam, and it's high hazard due to one of these structures downstream would be inundated with floodwaters if it was to have a catastrophic failure at this point. It's anticipated with the rock riprap dam that we could actually pull that structure out of the dam failure, then lowering the hazard rating of the dam. With the hazard rating as of a high hazard, it requires a 2-year inspection. So we're having to pay anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 every 2 years to do an inspection on that dam. With a replacement, we actually get it into a 10-year cycle for inspections. So we do have some cost savings with that. The other aspects is that municipal dam grant, the current cycle is right now to apply for it. We'd have to wait another 2 years, and then there's always unknowns if there's still going to be funding for that program in the future. As well as cost of the projects in general. Nothing is going down in price. So that is where we're moving forward with wanting to do this replacement at this point.
Do we have the funds for that to do it up front, like you say?
Yeah, last month we talked, and Andy, you can chime in here as well. So there was a small surplus, I believe it was from forestry sales, that we were able to roll some of that fund back into resource development. And that is kind of where we're earmarking some of this money to come from for the fish trap lake dam replacement.
That's the discussion that we've been having and we had at Finance Committee last month. We'll be submitting a resolution that will come to the board either February, but most likely the March meeting, to transfer those funds from the general fund to the resource development fund for the project.
Is this a 2024 project?
It would actually be as a 2025 project. The grant cycle in which we need to apply for is actually a deadline of March 1st of this year. And that would be for a replacement project in 2025 and 2026. It's anticipated that we'd hopefully get this done by fall, winter of 2025. It could certainly roll to 2026 depending on contractors though as well. Those are always getting tougher and tougher to find. It also in conversations with the engineer, if we go that rock riprap spillway type of dam structure, there would be additional contractors that would have the ability to do that type of replacement as opposed to the repair aspects, which is more of a specialized.
So in that way, we're looking at the resolution before us today is to apply for the grant. And then next month, apparently, we would be having another resolution in order to take the money from Resource Development Fund. Is that correct?
Yes, to an extent. I'm not sure if this committee would see that. It might go to finance for where the funds get transferred from. But the resolution you have in front of you today is a twofold resolution. One, it's authorizing me as the zoning conservation administrator to apply for the grant. And two, stating that the county has money available to fund the project in the future. And where that money ends up shifting and moving from, I'm not sure if the DNR is super concerned about that, just that the county authorizes and accepts that we will pay for our share of it.
Yeah, like Jay said, the grant has to show that we have the ability to have the funds available to match the grant or pay our portion of the project. Whether it comes out of the Resource Development Fund or another source within the county, ultimately will come up to the board for approval. Doing it through the Resource Development Fund, through the funds we have on hand, would be one option if that one is not chosen. This project has been planned for in our capital improvement plan, which would be borrowing. So we do have options there. We're just going to be recommending to move money into the Resource Development Fund because we have it available through I hate to use the word surplus, but through excess revenue from last year's budget.
Okay. Do I have a motion to?
I make a motion to approve the resolution from Story County, or Story County authorizing participation in the Department of Natural Resources Municipal Dam Grant Program.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution before us. Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Yeah.
And please remember that we do have the resolution here to sign this morning, so.
Thank you. Item C, this is our wildlife damage claim reimbursement. I believe 2 months ago or 3 months ago, we looked at the claim rates. Here we have now for those that have, participated in the program, for their reimbursement amounts. We do have Seth here from APHIS. I don't know if you want to go over any of these claim distribution amounts, but it does require approval either from a motion as all as one from the chair, or you could authorize myself to sign for them as well. I guess I'll turn it over to Seth if you guys have any other questions on the specific claims. Again, the claims here that we have are, it's pass-through money, so we get money from the state to do the wildlife damage program. APHIS gets a portion of that to run the program, and then the other money is available to hand out for the reimbursement.
Morning, my name is Seth Zesker. Wildlife Services administer the damage program on behalf of the county. Nothing, pretty straightforward process this year, nothing controversial. Recommendation would be to approve all claims as presented. And as Jay just referenced, this is not money that the county would have to pay to these claimants. It comes directly from the state.
Okay, are there any questions regarding this?
I do
So
see
we-
that deer was down quite a bit, which is
The
interesting.
reason for that would be because in 2022, one of the producers planted snap beans, which are a very high value commodity, and the deer really like to eat them. And so 2022 claims were quite high. He didn't have any snap beans this year, so that was reflected in damage losses. I would say overall on corn and soybeans, deer damage was actually probably up as compared to 2022, but the dollar figure wasn't there because of the lack of the snap beans. Bear damage was down significantly.
Any,
We need a motion to approve the wildlife damage claims.
yes,
So make that motion.
and we can do this all in one,
Mhm.
just,
Make a motion to approve all of the wildlife damage claims as put in front of us.
second. Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the wildlife damage claims as presented. Questions?
It does not.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None? Motion passes. So,
Do you want the chair to sign or do you want me to sign?
It does not matter at all.
Okay. You want to sign?
I can sign.
All right,
that.
there you go.
I can just have you sign after.
Okay, thanks. Item, is that it for item C?
It is.
Item D, Nelson Lake drawdown proposal.
Yeah, so we heard a drawdown proposal back in 2022, where Nelson Lake Property Owners Association were requesting a drawdown to, in essence, to increase fish spawning habitat. At that time, the DNR came back and said there was no specific evidence that a drawdown of that nature would increase spawning habitat, so they basically denied the drawdown. This 2024, late 2024, early 2025, Nelson Lake again is proposing a 4-foot drawdown. This drawdown though is in essence needed to repair some broken ramp portions as part of one of the boat launches. So we do have a proposal for the drawdown. Ultimately, the drawdown amount goes below our minimum water level or right near where our minimum water level needs to be kept as part of our dam control points. So we are requesting in conjunction with Nelson Lake Property Owners Association to go below the minimum for the aspects of repair to a boat ramp. This would be something that just needs a motion for approval or really as a support from this committee to authorize the Zoning and Conservation Department to proceed with the DNR to request a drawdown below the minimum. We also have the Town of Lenroot Chairman, Gordy Christians here, if you have other specific questions on that project that they're anticipating.
So from this, then zoning and conservation will be working with DNR.
We'll be working with DNR and Nelson Lake Property Owners Association. They'll probably need some permits through the DNR to do the boat ramp repair project. But ultimately to lower the water level below our ordered minimum, that is where we need support or approval from this committee to then seek that to the DNR and said, we have approval of our committee and we are requesting to go below the minimum for the aspects of repair to the boat ramp.
Any questions about this? Do I have a motion to approve the drawdown plan for zoning and conservation to seek and the Nelson Lake Association to seek approval through DNR for this drawdown? Is it stated correctly?
Yep.
I'll make that said motion as stated. Honor Chairman.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve this drawdown so that zoning and conservation can seek and Nelson Lake Association can seek DNR approval for this drawdown to proceed. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. USDA report, we don't have anything on that, as I assume. LCO report?
I have two things. The first one is a question for Jay, since we've been talking about a lot of dams today. Have you had any correspondence with the BIA on Billy Boy Dam?
Not at this point, no.
Okay, well, part of the problem that we've been having with the Great Lakes Agency, that's the BIA up in Ashland, is the amount of requests for assistance. So last week, or 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, we contacted the regional director and we were assured that we would start getting some of these issues that we have that need to be resolved by the BIA. So we had wrote a letter and sent it to the regional director, a list of all the activities, and just to let you know, we included the easement, because otherwise that thing will be 20 years expired before you get any action. So I just wanted to give you an update on that.
Thank you.
We have been, and this is for Kathy, we've been working with the Alliance on a resolution for the ATV trails, supporting the county's application. I haven't got it back from legal yet, but I'll check on it later today, get that back. And we are looking at, changing some of our ATV, UTV codes that, well, it's not a totally flawed document, but, we need to fix it. And so we're in the process of fixing it, and I'll be working with Kathy on that as well.
Future, moving on, future agenda items? Don't know of anything in particular that's coming up. Correspondence, reports? Haven't received anything. So hearing nothing new, or if there's anything else anyone wants to bring up, this meeting is adjourned.